Okay, today we are going to read the passage in your Journeys book called The Princess and the Pea by Annie Dalton, embroideries by Belinda Downs. Once there was a prince who was as handsome as any prince could be, but he was also a Pernitsky prince, the kind of young man who likes everything just so. And he got it into his head that he could only marry a real princess. He knew perfectly well that a real princess is as rare as a unicorn, but this didn't put him off. Not at all. "I'll just search high and low until I find one," he said cheerfully. So with two friends for company, off he rode into the wide world to find a real princess to be his bride. Now on his travels, as you'd expect, the prince met dozens and dozens of princesses. But whenever he made up his mind to marry one, right at the last minute, he'd change his mind again and decide that this princess wasn't a real one after all. His friends couldn't understand him. But the last one was perfect, they cried. Hair like moonlit silk, eyes like blue pansies. Why didn't you like her? Her dancing? Of course not, sighed the prince. She's as graceful as a swan. Was it her handwriting then? Or her manners? Her handwriting is miles better than mine, said the prince gloomily. So are her manners. You hate her voice, is that it? How could I, sighed the prince. Her voice is as soft as a dove's, exactly how a princess's voice should be. And he buried his head in his hands. Then why won't you marry her? Cried his friends. Because I can't be sure she is a real princess, the prince explained. So the prince and his companions rode sadly home. If I can't marry a real princess, then I won't marry at all, he told his mother, the queen. That night a terrible storm blew up. Lightning crackled across the sky. Thunder boomed. The winds howled. The rain battered the windows. Suddenly, between crashes of thunder, the queen heard a firm tapping at the palace gates. So she threw on her dressing gown and went to see who it could be. A girl was standing outside, and what a state she was in! The wild weather had tangled her dark curls into a big bush. Rivers of rainwater streamed off her shoulders and splashed off her torn stockings, filling her sturdy little boots to overflowing. And every step she took, she made a squodge squelch like a frog in a ditch. Squish, squash. The queen nearly fainted when this sorry-looking creature said she was a princess who had lost her way in the storm and asked to stay the night. She sounded unusually firm for a princess, thought the queen, not a bit like a dove. The girl wasn't especially graceful either, but marched sturdily across the threshold in her soggy boots, squish, squash, and hung her dripping knapsack on the hook in the hall, just as if she'd lived there. Maybe you are a princess and maybe you aren't, young lady, thought the queen. But you won't fool me for long, and she asked the girl to sign the visitor's book to see if she had the proper handwriting for a princess. But the girl shivered so hard that the ink splurted out of the pen in one big blot. Never mind, some soup will warm you up, said the cunning queen, and she heated some cabbage soup, left from the servant's supper, and gave it to the girl with a lump of stale bread. Instead of nibbling daintily like a princess should, the girl sat down at the kitchen table and hungrily spooned up every last drop. She even polished the bowl clean with her crust. Then she finished. There was a splash of soup on her nose. That was the best soup I have ever tasted, she sighed. Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. But we'll settle this business once and for all, muttered the queen. For she knew a thing or two about princesses. If only her clever son had bothered to ask. So the queen hurried along to the spare bedroom. She whisked all the sheets and blankets off the bed, and off came the mattresses, too. Then she took a dried pea out of her pocket, placed it in the middle of the bed, and put the mattress back on top. Then on top of the first mattresses, the queen piled another mattress and another until the bed was 20 mattresses high. Next, she collected up all the spare quilts in the palace, some with stripes, some with polka dots, and some which badly needed to go to the laundry. But when she counted them, they came to 20 exactly. The queen stacked all 20 quilts on top of the 20 mattresses until the bed swayed about like a ship at sea. At last the girl took off her boots and clambered sleepily into this huge, high, swaying bed, and the queen blew out the candle, snuff, and left her alone for the night. Next, the queen asked if she had slept well. But the poor girl was pale as a ghost. "Not a wink, I'm afraid," she complained. "Something was sticking into me all night. Look, I'm bruised all over." When the queen saw that the girl had felt a tiny pea digging into her through the 20 mattresses and 20 quilts, she knew she must be a real princess after all, and ran to tell her son that the search was over. "Only a real princess has skin so delicate," she told him. "A real princess at last," he gasped. "Then, if she likes me, we'll marry at once." So the prince married the princess. After the wedding was over, the pea was put on show in the Royal Museum. And if you don't believe me, then go and see it for yourself. Okay, so now that we have finished the text, you're going to go into the Canvas next document for today, and you will answer there are 2 questions of the first 4 that you will answer, and then the last question you must answer. The last question is bonus, but you must answer it. Good luck.